Despite what I said in a previous video about not liking the style of this book, I'm still going to do a book review of it. That's positive. I usually wait till I actually finish the book to do the review, but because of the aforementioned style, it's going to be a long time before I finish this book because I just don't like the style. I prefer things clear-cut, not poetic. Anyway, the idea in this book is really interesting. And like with a lot of philosophy, it sounds crazy and like woo until you actually understand what it's saying. Simulacra and Simulation is talking about the simulation of the real. How much our society is so obsessed with the simulation, the simulacra of the real. Which sounds weird. What the heck do they mean by the simulation of the real? Here's a more concrete example. FDR, the real man, the real human being, was in a wheelchair. But the image, the simulation, was not in a wheelchair. What they did was they tried to control images of the president to make it appear that like he wasn't in a wheelchair. Or he wasn't wheeling around in it all the time. They gave him images of him as a strong person. Which he was a strong person, very strong. Also was in a wheelchair. So they gave you you were seeing the simulation of the president and not the real man. And this is how it's always been with presidents. You see the simulation of the president rather than the real person as a human being. Although it's less and less of a case as presidents get less and less privacy now than they did back in the days of FDR. Also, commercials are really bad when it comes to this simulation of the real, the simulacra. And the simulacra, well, it's not defined very clearly because it's postmodernism. Let's be fair here. Simulacra seems to refer to the simulation of the real. And how commercials do this is what they do is they sell you the simulation of values rather than the real value. They realize that values are important to us, so they sell fake versions of them to us to sell products. So for instance, beer companies really like to sell simulated fraternity. So they show images of men drinking beer together, and then you buy the beer, you're buying the simulation of fraternity, which of course, buying the simulation is not the same thing as getting the real fraternity, the real value involved. So, I like to keep my video short, so I'll end it here. While I don't like the poetic style, it's very important to consider, when considering politics and commercials and our society as a whole, what is the simulation of the real and what is actually real? How are we actually supposed to determine the simulation from the real deal?